Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into the incredibly calculated business model behind your everyday grocery run. You might think you're just popping in for a quick errand, right? But as we're about to see, every single step you take inside that store has actually been meticulously designed.
Look, we have all been there. You grab a cart, fully intending to just grab some milk, maybe a loaf of bread. Cut to 30 minutes later, you're walking out with a mountain of stuff you absolutely did not plan to buy. Your receipt is practically trailing on the floor, and yet, somehow, you feel like you got a pretty great deal. Well, don't worry, you are definitely not crazy. It's totally not an accident. It's a highly engineered business model designed specifically to separate you from your cash. But if selling you cereal and bread is the main goal here, we've got to ask, exactly how much money are these billion-dollar supermarket chains actually keeping from your receipt? Like, if you just dropped $100, you'd probably think they're pocketing a massive chunk of that, right? Well, prepare to have your mind blown. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the 1% profit myth. Because guys, groceries are really just the bait. Just look at how incredibly small that number is. Out of that $100 you just spent, the supermarket might only keep, get this, $1 to $3 in actual profit. That's it, a tiny 1 to 3% margin. The rest of your cash goes straight out the door to pay for rent, staff, those massive electricity bills to keep the freezers running, spoilage, and delivery trucks. So, if selling groceries barely makes them a dime, how on earth are they billion-dollar empires? Well, the answer is fascinating. Like I said, the actual food is just the bait. Which brings us to Section 2, real estate and pricing. We're looking at the hidden economics of the aisle. Have you ever noticed how the really expensive name brands are always right smack in front of your face, while the cheaper stuff is way up high or, down by your ankles? Yeah, that's entirely by design. Brands literally pay supermarkets for that prime shelf space in a practice called a slotting fee. Massive players, think Coca-Cola or Kellogg's, they pay the supermarket just to guarantee their product is right in your direct line of sight. In the industry, this is known as the buy zone. So before you've even reached out to pick up a single item, the store has already made money just by renting out that shelf real estate. And this genius real estate strategy, it bleeds right into their pricing tactics, specifically with something called the loss leader. You know that insanely cheap, like $4.99 rotisserie chicken at the front of the store? Or that gallon of milk priced exactly at cost? The store is making absolutely zero profit on those. Honestly, they might even be taking a loss. But it's brilliant bait. The logic is super simple. Once you're inside the store for that cheap chicken, you're not leaving with just the chicken. You're going to grab some sides, a drink, maybe a dessert. That incredibly cheap item is just the hook. Everything else you toss into your cart while you're there, that's the actual catch. And this perfectly illustrates why those generic-looking store brands are the supermarket's real secret weapon. You'll almost always see the store's own brand of pasta sauce, or whatever, placed directly next to the famous, expensive brand. I mean, it practically dares you to compare the prices. But here's the secret. Those cheaper store brands are actually vastly more profitable for the supermarket. Why? Well, there's no middleman taking a cut. There's no multi-million-dollar marketing budget to pay for. The supermarket controls the whole shebang, from factory to shelf, which results in margins that are up to 40% higher. It's huge. Moving on to Section 3, Shopper Psychology and Layout. This is all about designing your physical journey. Okay, so notice how the entrance almost always leads you straight into the fruits and vegetables. All that fresh, vibrant produce puts you in this really positive, healthy mindset right off the bat. And once you feel like you've made responsible choices, actually, psychologically, you're way more relaxed about blowing money on junk food later on in the trip. Then they hit your senses. Think about taking a deep breath in. Notice that fresh bread smell? Yeah, it's often completely intentional. Some supermarkets literally vent the smell of the bakery straight into the main walkway, just because smelling fresh bread makes people hungry. And hungry shoppers, they buy significantly more of everything. Finally, they use the ultimate layout trick. Put in the milk and eggs, the stuff you actually came in for, way at the very back of the store. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is that supermarkets aren't just selling you food. They are designing a totally unavoidable physical journey. By hiding those necessities in the back, they force you to walk past literally dozens of aisles of temptation. And every single extra minute you spend navigating that maze is just another opportunity for a bright box or a flash sale sign to catch your eye. All right, Section 4, the final traps. Let's talk checkouts and data mining.
By the time you push your cart up to the register, your brain has been working major overtime. You've been comparing prices, resisting temptations, calculating weights and sizes. Basically, you're exhausted. You're experiencing something psychologists call decision fatigue. Your willpower is completely shot for the moment, and supermarkets know this is the absolute perfect time to strike. Which brings us right to the checkout line trap. While you're just standing there, waiting for the person in front of you to finish up, you've got nothing to do, and suddenly you're surrounded by small, cheap, incredibly high-margin items. We're talking candy bars, gum, gossip magazines, maybe a pack of batteries. Now, you had zero intention of buying any of this when you walked in, right? But hey, your brain is tired, you're still hungry from that bakery smell, and it's only $2. But when you multiply those $2 impulse buys by thousands of customers a day, that adds up to a massive, massive revenue stream for the store. And finally, we absolutely have to talk about the loyalty card. You hand over that little piece of plastic or, scan your app just to save 50 cents on a box of cereal. But what does the store get out of it? They get a gold mine. That card is quietly building a wildly detailed profile of every single thing you buy, what days you shop, and how often you're there. They use this data to send you hyper-personalized coupons, basically guaranteeing you'll come back. And even better for them, they bundle this anonymized data and sell your shopping trends back to the suppliers. So you get a tiny 50-cent discount, and they get an incredibly lucrative data ecosystem. Pretty wild, right? Okay, let's wrap this up with Section 5, how to beat the system and take back control of your cart. Now that we've peeled back the curtain, you can actually beat this incredibly complex system with just a few simple habits. Rule number 1. Shop with a strict, written list and just completely refuse to deviate from it. Period. Rule number 2, always, always eat a full meal before you go to the store. That way the bakery smell won't short-circuit your brain into buying everything in sight. And rule number 3, when you finally hit that checkout line and decision fatigue starts setting in, keep your eyes forward and skip the impulse candy.
I want to hear from you as we wrap up this explainer. Now that you know exactly what to look for, from rented eye-level shelf space to the sneaky layout of the produce aisle, what is the cleverest or maybe the most diabolical retail trap you've ever spotted in your own local grocery store? Let us know in the comments. Because honestly, the next time you walk through those automatic sliding doors, you are never going to look at a grocery store the same way again. So what's it going to be? Are you controlling the cart, or is the cart controlling you? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.